London, 1305. A man is dragged through the streets, chained, bloodied, defiant. His name is William Wallace. And today, England won't just kill him, they'll try to erase him. But what they don't know is that you cannot silence a man who has already become a voice. This is the execution they never wanted you to see. The truth behind the legend. This is how a country tried to murder an idea. London, August 1305. A cart rolls through the crowded streets. Tied behind it, half-naked, bruised, barely conscious, is a man. His name echoes from mouths and memory, William Wallace. His body scrapes across stone and mud. Every jolt of the wheels rips another piece of flesh. Children point, men curse, women look away. But deep down, even his enemies know. This is not justice, it's revenge. Revenge from a crown humiliated by a farmer with no title. The screams of battle are gone now. All that remains is the sound of rope, dragging the last breath from a legend. This is how England kills hope. You've seen the movie. The painted face, the slow-motion charge, the final cry of freedom. But this is no film. This isn't war paint. It's dried blood. And Wallace's cry wasn't scripted. It was a roar from a throat swollen by torture. The truth isn't as pretty as cinema. The real Wallace didn't die in glory. He died in silence, with English steel opening his body in front of a laughing crowd. Hollywood made him a hero. History turned him into a warning. Long before the rebellion, before the battles and the blades, he was just a boy. Elderslie, Scotland. He watched his father hanged for defying the English, his brother beaten to death in front of him. His mother cried until she couldn't anymore. And Wallace, barely old enough to hold a sword, was left with silence. He never forgot the smell of the fire or the sound of boots stomping through their home. Some children grow up dreaming of knighthood. Wallace grew up promising, never again, not to him, not to anyone. The Scottish nobles kept their heads low. They toasted with the English, prayed for titles. But Wallace vanished into the forests, and when he returned, he didn't bring petitions, he brought fire. In candlelit barns and hidden valleys, he gathered the broken, peasants, blacksmiths, widows, orphans. They had nothing to give except rage, and Wallace gave them something in return, a reason to rise. The soil beneath your feet belongs to you, he told them. That's when the war began. Her name was Marion. She gave Wallace shelter when he was hunted. She gave him peace in a world full of blood. And for that, the English killed her. They didn't ask questions, didn't give her trial. They dragged her into the square and made an example of her. Wallace watched from the shadows, powerless, silent. That night, he returned to Lanark. He found the English sheriff who signed her death. He didn't shout, he didn't curse, he just acted. The blade entered just below the ribs, quick, quiet, precise. And when the blood soaked the stone, a message was carved. You burn what I love, then I burn your rule. After Lanark, Wallace didn't hide. He climbed the mountains, crossed rivers by night. In the highlands, he didn't find warriors. He made them. Men with blistered hands. Old men who'd seen too much. Sons who buried fathers in shallow graves. They didn't know how to fight, but they knew how to suffer. Wallace taught them to turn that pain into purpose. Not with speeches, not with crowns, but with one idea. You don't have to kneel. And that was enough to turn farmers into fighters, and whispers into wildfire. The English crossed the bridge confident. They had knights, war horses, archers, gold-plated arrogance. Wallace had peat-soaked boots and blades sharpened in silence. He waited until half the army was across, then gave the order. The bridge became a coffin. Horses tumbled into the river. Archers screamed as spears met bone. The water turned red before the hour was out. It wasn't a battle. It was a reckoning. The English believed Scotland would never rise. That day, Wallace made them choke on their certainty. After Stirling, Scotland roared. Nobles offered him riches. The people begged for a king. But Wallace, he walked away from the throne. "I am no man's lord," he said. "I only fight so that my people may choose their own." While others built castles, Wallace walked among the ruins. He wasn't interested in power, only purpose. He could have ruled. Instead, he remained the one thing the English couldn't buy, break, or bribe: free. It wasn't swords that broke him. It was a handshake. A nobleman Wallace trusted, Sir John Menteith, sold him out. For land, for coin, for favor with the English crown. They ambushed Wallace in the dark, chained him like an animal, and dragged him to London not as a warrior, but a warning. He wasn't defeated in battle, he was betrayed at home, and that was the English crown's cruelest weapon, turning his own countrymen into executioners. There was no defense. No jury, no appeal. They called it a trial. It was theater. They listed his crimes: treason, rebellion, murder. But Wallace stood in chains and laughed. "I never swore allegiance to Edward," he said. "I cannot betray a king I never accepted." Silence fell. Even the judges flinched. They expected a man broken. Instead, they saw the ghost of Scotland staring back at them. So they condemned him and gave him a sentence soaked in spectacle. Hang him, gut him, quarter him. Make the earth remember. They tied a noose around his neck, but they didn't want death. Not yet. They wanted the world to watch him almost die. The rope lifted him just high enough to choke. His legs kicked, his vision blurred, his lungs screamed. And just as the blackness came, they cut the rope. Wallace collapsed, gasping, vomiting, barely alive. And the crowd, they roared, not in horror, but in celebration. This wasn't justice, it was performance. They tied him down. Arms stretched, legs pulled apart. Then came the blade. They sliced into his abdomen. Not once, not quick, but slow, deliberate, artistic. His screams echoed off stone and scaffold. They removed his entrails inch by inch. Some say he passed out, others that he stayed awake, eyes locked on the man holding his insides. The executioner held his heart in one hand, and in the other, fire. They burned what made him human, in front of him, and still, he did not beg. After the gutting, there was one final ritual. They brought the axe. But Wallace, soaked in blood, stomach hollow, breath shallow, still locked eyes with the crowd. No fear, no shame. Just a man who refused to give them what they wanted: surrender. The axe came down in one clean swing, and the silence that followed was louder than any scream. Because for a moment they realized they didn't kill a traitor, they crowned a martyr. They weren't done. They carved his body into four. One piece sent to the north, another to the west, the rest scattered across the isles. Each fragment nailed to a gate, hung from a pike, left to rot. They wanted the message to spread. This is what happens to rebels. But something else spread instead. His story, his sacrifice, his fire. Each limb became a flag, each bone a banner. The crowd left. The scaffold was cleaned. The square returned to normal. Yet something had changed. In whispers, people spoke his name with reverence. Children drew swords in the dirt and called themselves Wallace. Priests muttered his words in sermons. Poets wrote them into stanzas. And kings slept less peacefully. Because Wallace was gone. But what he stood for, that wouldn't die.
Was he perfect? No. He made mistakes. He spilled blood. He burned bridges. But Wallace never asked to be perfect. Only to be free. And for that, they made him legend. But legends are dangerous. Because they remind people that chains can be broken. And that's why England feared him. Not because of what he did, but because of what others might do after him. Today you'll find statues, streets, stamps, schools, all bearing his name. But Wallace didn't fight for monuments. He fought so that a farmer in a field could raise his child without kneeling to a foreign ground. He fought so that history would remember that Scotland once roared, and one man lit the fire.
They took his life, but they could never take his voice. Because every time someone whispers the word freedom, Wallace answers, not with words, but with memory, with fire, with a scream carried on wind and time. He is not buried. He is bound to every rebellion that ever dared to rise. And if you listen closely, you'll still hear him, screaming not in pain, but in defiance.